There's nothing wrong with. I mean, there are times there are things confusing in here, and yeah, you're allowed to be honest with me. Yeah, I'm not going to say that you're going to be a pro instantly because I taught something. I'm not that good of a teacher. I'm still working on it. Let's run through the problems to see how we did. Now let me ask you this. Those of you that I know a lot of you were able to get a start on it. Do you at least know where Desmos is? Agree? That's the first thing. And if you know where Desmos is, then you're ahead of the curve. But let's take a look at how this works. And I assure you, we will have a quiz tomorrow, which is fine. Don't panic about it. You have your notes, you have your homework, and if you get stuck on the quiz on any of the stuff on Desmos, you just let me know during the quiz. It's not a big deal. I mean, I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel like at least 5% comfortable in comparison to how comfortable you feel with posting stuff on social media or looking at stuff on social media. So I'm only aiming for 5% Desmos. All right. So first thing, page 97 says the number of points scored by the Cherry Creek lacrosse team. Gosh, we only had a lacrosse player in here.
Yep.
Okay, good. Are those a lot of points that are on that list? I have no idea.
Some are, some aren't.
Like 17.
That's a lot.
Unless the other team's like really bad.
Well, let's face it. Every now and then you're going to play the school of the blind, and you're going to be able to just run around. All right. So very first thing we have to do when we're going to jump to Desmos is we have Desmos loaded, and on the very first line we're going to pick a variable in which our list is going to be. It could be. I found out yesterday you can't use R. R is reserved for a radius. So if you had R and you start putting stuff in, you start getting concentric circles. And that's not what we're looking for. So we have to pick some other letter other than R. So far it's R. But let's do lowercase l for lacrosse. Sound good? And we're going to go L equals square bracket. Okay? Now I realize on the keyboard it's easier to find stuff. Sometimes on your phone it's harder to find. I think the square brackets on your phone are under the alpha on Desmos. Does that sound about right? Okay, so we do that. And then once we have that, we're going to plug our scores in. So we have 15, and then we have 12, and then we have 16, or 17, excuse me. Trying to take points away. 17, we have 10, and we have 16, and we have the low scoring game of 5. Hey!
What's up, Jakey?
We're just running through the homework. I didn't mark it off. I figured we'll do it in class and we'll get it done. Deal? Let's see. 14, comma 14, comma 13, 11, comma 15, 14, 16, 13, comma 14, 12, 10, 14, 15, 13, and 14. So, 14. So one of the errors that takes place when plugging in data is you accidentally forget to put a piece of data in. Like the list on Desmos doesn't care the order you put it in. Like if you forgot a number, just squeeze it in at the end. It's going to work. Other errors that take place, you forgot a number, so then just squeeze, go back through your list. And a lot of times it becomes easier if you work kind of in pairs on it. Like you say you have your friend read the numbers and you're reading it back to him as you're plugging it in. And go with that. So now we have 20 pieces of data, 20 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have 20 elements in there. I think I've done it correctly. Now, you can either type in the word histogram. Now, I saw some people that you make the error because it capitalizes the H. You don't want it capitalized, lowercase. if you ever get stuck on Desmos and you're like, where is it at? You bring up the bar, you go to functions, and you go down to statistics. And maybe it's not statistics, it's somewhere in here. Histogram, visualizations, histogram. So if you just click the word histogram right there, and you say, I'm using lowercase l, it's going to start with it. Now, notice, it tells you, on mine at least, that we're doing it bandwidth 1. Well, you can change your bandwidth, so maybe change it to 2, and then scroll your screen over to see what it looks like. Okay? Now, it says, make a proper histogram using less than 5 bars. Okay? My friends, do we have more than 5 bars right now? We do. We want to do it less. So that means I have to change my bar width. So I don't know, maybe let's change it to 5. Okay. Well, there's a histogram based on 5. And sometimes you just have to adjust it. The big thing to see on here is you have the x-axis that you can see, and you have the y-axis you can see. And even if you're off the screen with the y-axis, you still have the numbers that will show up on the far left. So you just kind of have to count. So basically, this is the first histogram. And what this basically shows, if we look at this, it looks like we had, this goes from 2.5 to about 7.5 on mine. If you did it on different, it's okay. But between 2.5 and 7.5, it looks like I had 1 score that fell in there because my first vertical was only 1 high. And then between 7.5 and 12.5, we had 5 scores that fell. And between 12.5 and 17.5, we had 14 scores that fell. So that's a totally appropriate way. So if you were to try and duplicate this on your paper, my friends, I'm not looking for your artistic ability. Okay? So just do your best sketch estimate for it. Do label the X and the Y. The Y in this situation is basically how often a score fell into that region. The X is the points scored. We would title this lacrosse scores or something like that. And then the one down below says, make a proper histogram, have them between 5 to 10 bars. So then we're going to change this. So I don't know, maybe we change it to 3. Okay, we want between 5 and 10, so maybe we change it to 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now we have 6 bars. Okay, this histogram is fine. Remember, histograms should be touching each other, but we have a gap. And what this gap means is from 5 to 7 points, we had 1. Between 7 and 9, we didn't have anybody score, or any score in that ring. Between 9 and 11, we had, looks like, 2 scores. So this is the same data that we're just using looking at a different graph. Okay, so you just got to play around with that graph itself to make sure it works okay. Yeah.
Can you make the y-axis make it go by like 5s or 10s instead of 1s?
There might be a way to change how it goes. I think that usually on this, so you want to like go in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
There might be a way to change it on the labels. You'd have to play around with it. I don't know right off the top of my head how to do it, but that's a great question. So play around with it, see if you can figure it out.
I thought there could be graphs like that.
Gotcha. And it says, look at your 5 to 10 bar histogram. Identify a couple things you notice about the data set. Okay, so a couple things that we notice. It appears that from 13 to 15, there's the most scores that are falling. As we move to the left, it's dropping. As we move to the right, it's dropping. But if you did it, as a histogram of 1, it might be a slightly different, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. Okay, so that's basically how you change how many bars you have, is by changing the number after you've labeled what your variable that you labeled was. What information is lost in less than a 5 bar? So less than a 5 bar, I don't know. I think I can actually do this. Let's do this. Let's go histogram. L. And then let's go with 5. Okay, so now we have both histograms that are there. Okay, You have the green, which is only 3 bars. And you have the blue, which is, it doesn't mean that one's more correct than the other. It's just which one seems to capture your audience that you're trying to talk to. Well, the green seems to capture the audience, saying, look how many points we scored. This is awesome. We're really good. We score all the time. We're a very offensive team. Well, when you look at the green, I think it still shows, or excuse me, if you look at the blue, it shows that you're still a pretty offensive team, but you're just not seeing all the information. But again, too many times statistics is used to influence the reader, okay? And a lot of times the reader isn't the brightest one. So yeah, you can plot 2 different histograms there. And then on page 98, so sometimes histograms and bar charts are created that figures rather than rectangles. One such diagram shown below. So why is not on page 98? Why is that not truly a histogram? Well, one, we're using different balls to indicate. 2, the widths aren't the same of the balls. 3, they're not touching. So there's all kinds of reasons you could say it's not a true histogram. Okay. It also is not a histogram because it is talking about different years. So it's actually a bar graph. But you still shouldn't use the balls as a bar graph. What argument is supported by this chart? And then there's all kinds of answers we could say. Maybe we say that there was more money for tickets for basketball as the years went on, things like that. But again, it's really a bad thing to look at. And then, is this display a fair representation of the relative ticket prices? And the answer is no, it's not a fair representation because, 1, you're using different balls to indicate stuff. 2, you're dealing with different years, so it's not a real fair representation. You're talking about different sports because I don't think you play baseball with a basketball. I mean, it'd be easier to hit a basketball, I guess, because it's a bigger object. Probably couldn't hit it as far. Create a rough bar chart using the information. Yeah, I'm going to skip number 7. I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah.
I don't know, this is a little bit far out there, but couldn't the prices also depend on like the type of game that is, like if it's like a preseason, regular
Sure.
season, postseason?
Oh, absolutely.
Location?
Absolutely. Yeah. What aspect of your bar chart makes it a better representation of this data than the one given at the top of the page? Well, 1, you don't want to use the balls. You want to make sure the rectangles that are all same width. So that's basically the ins and outs. All right. So, comfortable? Does that seem okay? Being that you're here, I figured you did that, so I'm going to make sure I put that in the grade book. What I'm going to do is, so I'm going to have you do page 99, and you can start this, page 99 and 100, okay? This is the review for the quiz. Now, I will do this for you on Schoology. You still following my information? Probably by the end of 3rd period, I will post a video of all of page 99 and 100 completely worked out. So you can have that for you to use to study. We will have the quiz tomorrow. The quiz tomorrow, you can use your notes, you can use your phone, you can use a computer if you need to, and you can use your homework. Does that make sense?
But can you solve that on test?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just as we get further into the semester, especially with the final exam, you have a big book that you're trying to flip through going, where is it? So maybe a little sticky things for the important stuff so you know where to flip to it. Cool. Everyone know what to do? We happy? All right. So the video is not today.